Hello, it's Christine here from Coming Home, a podcast to help you survive and thrive in your homeschooling. A while back, one of our sons had started talking to me about podcasting and being of service to homeschooling families. We made a start, and you've probably already listened to that first podcast. Yesterday, both our sons messaged me separately with links to articles in our media about recent increases in homeschooling in New Zealand. I'll tell you what one said in his message first. "Mum, hurry up!" That was in capital letters. "You have so much knowledge that needs to get out there ASAP." Wasn't that lovely to have him express confidence in me like that? And for our other boy, who initiated the podcast because he knew the value of our family's homeschooling life. There will be lots of stories about this in future podcasts. But back to the articles. The first one is from the New Zealand Herald, and the heading is, "Queenstown Mum Pulling Kids Out of School Next Year Over COVID Fears." The mother says she's concerned the public school system is unable to provide adequate and consistent education in a COVID climate. The article goes on with some details about what she's done and her concerns. The second article, COVID-19, rise in homeschooling registrations linked to COVID-19 and social engineering. The article quotes the principal from Homeschooling New Zealand saying how there had been a dramatic increase over the past 6 weeks in the number of people the organisation had signed up for homeschool qualifications. He says, in a normal month we would register about 15 families, that's 15. In October alone we've registered 86. Now, two things. Bear in mind New Zealand is a small population. Concentrate instead on the percentage increase that is in 1 month. 15 families, a normal month, in October, 86. The second point I wanted to make about that is the article is quoting homeschool qualifications, and I'm going to assume that that's regarding the qualifications that more senior homeschool students need to finish their education and get qualifications that get them into university, other tertiary institutes, and getting jobs. I have not seen what the increase is and has been for general homeschooling applications, which would include, of course, all of the younger students. I would suspect that it would reflect a certain kind of trend. So to briefly sum up what the reasons were that we're seeing such an increase, a huge percentage increase, was the quality of education. You were seeing parents who were actually seeing what their children were learning because they were having to supervise it themselves at home via Zoom calls and working with the kids there. There were consistency issues. COVID-19 concerns regarding the pressure of receiving or not to receive the jab, and an increase in teaching of what we'll call social concerns. This reflects what is happening elsewhere. In the US, 1 in 12 children are now homeschooled. Now, what it was before it got to this ratio and how long it took to jump, I don't know. But the suggested trend is more than a gradual increase. It would be interesting to observe global trends. So what to do if you're wanting to start homeschooling now, rather than wait until the end of the school year? For us in New Zealand, our school year finishes before Christmas and starts again in late January, early February. If you're in the Northern Hemisphere and your Christmas break is more of a mid-term punctuation, you can use some of these following ideas too. We're doing the smart and obvious thing of using seasons, traditions, and the calendar to form our structure. There's no point in reinventing the wheel if there are perfectly good structures to go by. If you have a faith-based life, then it's the Christmas season, or Hanukkah, or a time that's important to you and your family. Because the Christian tradition in our family experience, I'll speak from that. Preparing for Christmas with books. You've got A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens. Read the unabridged version. We have excerpts from classics such as Little House on the Prairie, and I'm thinking of the chapter where Ma's brother was returning from fighting in the Civil War, and he was bringing through the snow the kids' Christmas treats, and they didn't know whether he was going to get there in time. There's Little Women, and for the younger ones, James Herriot and My Naughty Little Sister, and there will be many others, but these were the books that immediately came to my mind. Little note: resist the temptation to point out how happy they were to receive so little. Let them figure that out for themselves. Now you'll notice that I'm using classic books and not more modern selections. Although you can add modern stories, classics are classic for a good reason. You could find a George Frederick Handel biography suitable for your children's age and listen to Messiah and go to the performance if you are able to. Now resist stopping too much to explain something that you think they need to know, and don't replace a word for a more modern word or expression. Older and unusual words and phrases will build their knowledge, and this is one of the reasons you're homeschooling. For example, I told my 4-year-old grandchild recently what a glass was, that is, a mirror. We were reading My Naughty Little Sister. Consider it added value to their knowledge of the world. And while I think of it, don't ask them questions about what you've just read. Instead, ask them to tell you back something in the story. You will hear what resonated with her and what she needed to absorb and think about. If she's not used to thinking this way, then ask a general question about part of the story, such as, tell me something you didn't know about before, or tell me something about what they did in the olden days that was different to us, or what is the same about the olden days and what we still do. Sometimes it's just getting them started on a new way of thinking and building that new muscle memory to tell back to you. There are no wrong answers here. If what she narrates back to you seems at odds with what you read, it's actually her perception of what she heard. If you want a written exercise, have her write down a few sentences or more, according to their age and ability, about something she enjoyed in the story. Don't worry about spelling too much for now. You want her to write it down, not get it right. Including spelling opportunities can be included as you cruise into homeschooling a bit more later on. Now back to that list of Christmassy things to do. Buy foodstuff treats for Christmas food parcels. Have the children plan their own shopping lists and wish lists. Remember, there could actually be supply issues this year, so sooner rather than later, get the shopping done. Make Christmas decorations. It's an ideal time to learn to knit or sew a simple decoration, or carve one, and simple paper ring streamers can be made. Bake seasonal gifts to give to family, friends, neighbours, or farewell gifts for school teachers. Interview an older relative with what Christmas was like for them when they were young. Prepare some questions in advance for this and record it. You will be forming family memories and gathering history, both of which are important. It also helps grow the relationship between the child and the relative being interviewed. And if that person has concerns about your decision to homeschool, this could also be reassuring. One of our daughters was about 10 or 11 and interviewed her grandmother. 20 years later, excerpts of the recording were played at Nana's funeral. It was a blessing for everyone. Now, other notes. Don't buy any curriculum before the end of the year. Use what you have, the library and online resources. Find a local homeschool support group. There is still time to meet new people, initiate friendships, and join in end-of-year activities. Consider getting advice or consulting to help you decide how to approach your children's work. Any fee you pay will save you money and time in the long run. Remember, no one knows your child like you do. No one is invested in or motivated in your child as highly as you are. Of course you can homeschool. What you don't know, you can find out or get help. So please send me questions about what's on your mind. How can I help you with this podcast? All right, that's it for today. Use my contact below for questions or to ask about consulting. I'm here to help you.